Sorry about that.
Okay, that's great.
If you give me a minute to get situated here. Oh,
Okay.
yay, and Joe is here.
That's good.
Nice ivy over the doorway.
Okay. So, all right, Maria, are we ready?
Hold on, just get the YouTube under control and the other one's recording, and yes, I think we're good.
Do we have a quorum yet?
We do. We just have a quorum.
We just got a last minute cancellation.
Yeah, which is bummer. Okay. So I will slowly open up our June 2nd meeting, 2025 at the Madison Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. We have as agency members, Lee Schumacher, Steve Lowry, Joe Boudreau, and Kayla Freidenberg, along with staff member Maria Patello, and our recorder, Raquel Stubbs. And I guess we can start with our applications. All right. So our first application, and everyone can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Is 25-19 454 Horsepond Road. So as you'll see, these are these were received last month. This is part of the subdivision that we approved last year. And any of the houses that are being built that are within the 100-foot review have come back to us. And do we have?
I believe Aaron from Stone Engineering.
Okay.
I just promoted him. I hope he is.
Yeah, I'm here. So my name's Aaron Schumacher. I work for Bob Jones.
Hold on 1 second, Aaron. Just want to make sure everybody else is okay. And we're good, I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, do you guys want me to give you a quick rundown? Do you want to talk about one lot at a time? What would you guys think?
I think if you have a schematic of all of them, you could do like a couple sentences and then we'll take them one at a time. And it would
Okay.
be helpful to just kind of step through things one at a time.
Okay, let me share the plan here. So this is the site plan that was before you guys for the subdivision application, showing all the lots. There's 4 lots involved on the site, just to refresh your memory. Unit 1 is out here in the front. That is not coming back before the commission because it's not within the upland review area. Tonight, before you guys do your review, we have Unit 2. Can you see the cursor on the screen? So Unit 2 is the first unit here on the right. Then we have the created wetland area that we're using for our stormwater management, and the crossing, which is already installed. And then we have Unit 3 and 4 located in the rear of the property. But like I said, this is the original plan. So the houses that are shown on here and kind of the grading is the conceptual work that we did for the subdivision plan. This is the first site plan that we have tonight on the agenda. This is for Unit 2. So you can see on the top of the plan here, you can see the private road coming in, the stormwater wetland, the actual footprint of the proposed house and sanitary system. There's a wetland just in the open space area to the right of the property here, to the north of the property. And then this is the upland review area line here, this dash line that kind of comes through most of the sanitary system, not into the house, but around a piece of the yard and out towards the
Oh,
left.
hey, Aaron, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We are having a hard time hearing you. I don't know where your microphone is. Is it,
But
or if you can, it's really hard to hear you. And
yeah,
I'm not, oh, there you go.
let me
That's,
open the computer. I think it's drawing from the computer mic. See if that is
Oh,
better.
that's
oh,
good.
that's so much
I was
better.
just going to say something because the transcriptionists can't hear you.
Okay, much better.
Is that better for you? Okay,
It is, but
maybe.
now yes, there, perfect. Yeah,
Okay,
we can hear you wonderfully. Now we can't see you, but we can hear you, and it'll be better to hear you. Not that
okay.
we don't want to see you, but
I can see if I can.
We can see the map. That's important.
and we can hear you. Those are 2 out of 3 we'll take. Oh,
Okay,
there.
there we go.
Okay, perfect.
Sometimes technology works for me. Sometimes it doesn't. Every once in a while, you get lucky. So okay, so this is lot 2. Just to recap real quick, private road here along the top of the page. This is the actual footprint of the proposed house. With the final kind of house design that we're proposing. Sanitary system, wetland is over here to the north or the right side of the page. This dash line coming through here is the upland review area. This house is slightly larger than the house that was originally proposed, and the sanitary system did push slightly closer to the wetlands. And we have not yet submitted it to health, but we are preparing to submit it to health shortly.
So you don't have approval for septic.
No, so the septic design, like for the 5-bedroom house, is still what we originally proposed, and coincides with the health approval that we got as part of the subdivision review. But we did make some changes to this system, and now that we have an actual house, it will have to go back to health. So we don't have the final health approval yet.
What's your perk rate?
I don't remember. This lot has a 10 to 20 perk.
Okay.
How much closer is that pushed?
I can get you an exact figure on that. So the reserve area is 75 feet from the wetlands, and the primary area is about 90 feet to the wetlands on the new proposed lot.
Okay.
So we're just inside the review area with the sanitary system.
Other questions from agency members? Well, I'll ask one. So the wetland there, that's part of the open space, is that right?
Yes, yeah, the wetland area that we're creating is in the open space. Yes.
And well, you're creating some, but then there's also wetland that is going to
Yes,
stay as
yeah,
it was.
the existing yes, that is in the open space as well. Yeah, the proposed
And
kind of lot line for this unit follows the stone wall here. That would be the end of
okay,
that property.
okay, that was my next question is what kind of demarcation there would be between the wetland area and so right, there's a stone wall and that will stay.
Yes, yep, yeah. So
Okay.
there should be no. There might be a little piece of this stone wall that has to come down to construct this drainage swale to direct the drainage towards the wetland. but it would just be a small section in here. Most of this wall would remain in place.
And that's their property line?
Yes. Yep, that's the line between this Unit 2's property and the open space.
And I think I recall that we recommended there be markers as well for the open space.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think the applicant would be willing to install some markers.
Yeah, I think that was part of the original approval.
I think it's part of the original
For the
subdivision
subdivision approval. Mm-hmm.
that open space area have markers clearly delineating that it's open space and not going to be lawn and it's not going to be developed and all of that.
Yeah, so I mean, in this case, we could revise the plan to show them just in the open space area, kind of on the other side of the wall. Would that be where you guys would like to see them?
The markers?
Yeah, the markers, yeah.
Yeah, yes. I think along the property line is perfect.
Right,
And,
okay.
and well, I- and for all, obviously this abuts all the lots, right, to some extent. So anywhere there's the open space, there should be, and I'm pretty sure we had this in the original application,
It
all the
says
open
that
space.
the applicant proposes to construct a stormwater wetland in the field portion of the open space. The applicant shall permanently delineate the open space with identification markers marked at 30-foot intervals affixed to 4x4 wooden concrete posts.
Right. That's from the original approval for the
Yes, that's from the
subdivision, including the open
subdivision
space. Yeah.
referral. Yes. Mhm.
So that will be that should be part of all of these
Site plans.
applications,
Right.
all these site plans, that they should have that on there because that is part of the subdivision.
Okay, we can get those added to the plan, so that it's clear that they'll be installed.
Hey, Maria, this is Lee. Are there any other conditions on that? I didn't go back and look at it. Any other conditions like that in the original subdivision approval that we should be aware of?
Please hold. The original approvals were the applicant demonstrated that the designation of 50% gross land area open space per section 27.2.11.1, and then the open space will include two parcels, 5.39 acres, which is on the upper side, and then the 2.7 wooded acre parcel on the northwest side parcel will remain undisturbed. The second parcel, which is a 2.68 area parcel, which is approximately half an open field and half wooded, is located on the eastern property. And then it says that they'll construct the stormwater wetland and the applicant shall delineate it. The
Okay.
second was that the homeowners association be established. The western wooden parcel will remain undisturbed. The eastern parcel will include open field, proposed construction, stormwater wetland. The applicant should be responsible for submitting an open space maintenance plan for the association that defines the extent of mowing, which they have. I believe, I know they've worked on it. We edited it and I think they've submitted it. The plan shall be submitted to the agency for review and recorded, and they did record the subdivision map.
Okay.
So it's on, that plan has been submitted and then the subdivision map has been recorded. And the last condition was that lots 2, 3, and 4 come back.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the open space being transferred to?
It's going to be a homeowners
Association.
maintained.
Okay,
Okay.
Was that open space deemed a meadow?
It is a meadow currently with this kind of wet meadow wetland, and I think we discussed in the mowing plan that, and we were pretty clear when we spoke about this initially, that it is open space. It's not developed because it's part of an open space.
Yeah.
Subdivision. It needs to remain open space and not be. There shouldn't be structures. There shouldn't be. It's not a developed. There's no development going on. There's no plantings. There's mowing and maintaining it as open space.
Yeah, I think they said earlier they were gonna mow it twice a year. something like that.
I,
Yep.
yeah, there's a schedule of the maintenance for both, and
Right.
there's different maintenance for each side.
Right. Okay. Well,
Moving on to the lot,
um,
though.
yeah, but it's good to kind of clarify because
Yeah.
we'll for all of these lots, they are going to be abutting open
Open
space.
space.
And
Yep.
so all of them should have the mark delineated on the site plan.
Mhm.
And be very clear about that so we can keep track. All right, so back to the lot. So you've pushed the septic a little further, and you're going to grade and maybe open up the wall a little to direct the stormwater towards the created wetland, I assume, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this swale has always been there, to some degree to direct the water from this lot towards the wetland. It just modified slightly. There's no tree clearing or anything associated with it. It's just opening that piece of the wall to allow the drainage through.
And go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You're fine.
Well, I was just going to say, currently there's no pool, and this is a really tight lot. If there, you're already into the 100-foot review. I guess I would just highlight that anything like a pool would have to come back. So if thoughts about that, I would recommend for all these lots that if that seems to be something that's going to happen, or if there are going to be more changes because these lots are going to be a little tight into the inland review area, that if you think that's going to happen, we should just deal with that now.
Yeah, we can ask the question again, but we did ask before we started all these three lots to confirm that this is the appropriate architecture to the right sizes and that there would not be pools proposed on any of them. But we can double check and confirm that.
Okay.
Just to be-
Yeah, because as we start adding on in these tight spaces and that gets encroached, then it may not be, there there could be issues or pools may not be able to work out. So it'd be good to hear about that upfront.
Yeah, I think we'll double check that, but at this time, there's no intention to add pools to these lots.
Okay. So this is the lot that's closest to the road. I think this seems fairly straightforward, especially when we demarc the wet space. Any other questions from agency members?
I'm sorry, I wasn't on the commission when the subdivision first came in. Was this stormwater area designed by Rich Snarsky?
Um,
I don't
Rich
know.
had some input on the plantings,
Thought it was, yeah.
for the stormwater, but like the volume and the size of that was designed by us.
Okay, but Rich put his 2 cents in on the plantings and yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
we consulted with Rich regarding the
This,
plantings. There's also some plantings on the other lots, or not on the other lots, but on the open
Yeah.
space that you see on the other lots towards more of the main wetland stream, I guess.
Yeah,
this was a significant activity, so it also had a third-party review.
okay.
Right. And as I recall, and I'm sure, Maria, you've seen this, there was going to be a pretty explicit plan for the stormwater
Yes.
wetland. Yeah. I
Oh.
remember we had a lot of discussion about that. So I guess a question I would just put out there, if if you think there's going to be an issue of a pool or anything else, we have one more meeting to vote on this. Um, I don't, or we can add I don't know, adding a condition about a pool. I don't know, Maria or somebody, thoughts on this?
You can, well, I would suggest that we already add a condition that the plan be revised to add the markers. And then you can always, any further site improvements need to return.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. To be super clear, like anything else,
The
you
size
should
of
come
the,
back.
from the size of the property, you've also got your septic system. If you're talking about putting an in-ground pool in.
Well, they're saying they're not
Yeah.
going to have a pool.
Yeah, I mean, pool looks pretty difficult to put into these lots. Well, this
Yes,
one,
but
but the other, well, we're not talking about the other two yet.
yeah, we will. Okay, so I think that is a good idea. So, if there aren't any questions, does the agency feel comfortable voting on this resolution, this application tonight? Yes? No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
comfortable voting on it, particularly assuming there's no pools or any other substantive changes. And I think Aaron just said that he didn't expect that, right, Aaron?
Right.
Yeah,
We'll
no, we
make
don't
that a
expect there to be
condition, but we're gonna condition.
Yep. I don't see any way a swimming pool will be within 100 feet of the wetlands anyway.
No,
No.
I'm
Is it-
not sure it's gonna comply with with zoning, you'd just be squeaking it in there, but I think it would be very close to the septic system.
Between the
Yeah,
zoning and the septic
The
system,
separating distance for the septic system, I think is like
Yeah.
10 feet or something like that.
I totally agree,
Yeah.
but
And get a kiddie
I
pool in
just
there.
Yeah, and they can do it
Anyways,
above ground, yeah.
Okay, so Aaron, if you don't mind, you can stop sharing your screen and
Okay.
then for right now until we go to the other ones. So we have
a staff memo, right?
a staff memo, and I can pull that up. I think. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. Right, so this is the right one. It is not where I want it to be. It's
It was
fine. Okay.
before. Right.
Oh, can you guys see it now still?
Yeah. You wanna
Yep.
pull
Okay.
it up? Yeah.
So this is so I'll make a motion. I'll start this. We'll start out. I'll start this motion. So I make a motion that we approve application 25-19 454 Horsepond Road with the conditions that the inland wetlands agency agent shall be notified at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of any regulated activity. And then this number 2, that the site work and that during site work and until soil areas are stabilized, the applicant will install and maintain erosion and sediment control measures as necessary and deemed by the agency's agent, etc. as is not here. Third condition that I would say is that we add, as noted in the subdivision referral, the
Open space.
markers, the open space markers every 30 feet on 4 feet high concrete stands, or whatever the language is.
Mhm.
And the fourth condition would be that any substantive work that is not in this application that is within the regulated activity area would need to come back to us.
I'll second.
Okay, so hopefully I said that all properly. Are there any other comments or additions?
Nope.
All right.
Any
Okay.
substantial work, hold on, so any substantial work.
In
not
the well,
included in this application within the review area must return, okay.
did that I think that
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, yep.
that covers us, or however you want to say it, but anything else would have to come back to us, just to be clear. Okay. All right. So all in favor of this?
I,
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And now I need to stop sharing. Okay, so that's our first of these. Okay, so moving on, we've got application 25-20 454 Horsepond Road. And so we again can have the applicant, and please go ahead and you can share your screen and we can look at this.
Okay, so this is the lot 3, and it's the
Yes.
one in the it's this one here, kind of in the back left of the property. So this is the lot plan that we've produced with the house footprint. The sanitary system for this lot stayed in exactly the same place and is the same design that was reviewed and approved during the subdivision plan. We are still going back to health because we've changed the house to kind of get their final approval. So we're preparing to submit that. But besides that, most of it stayed very similar to the subdivision referral, except the house obviously did get slightly larger, an increase.
All right. Questions?
Are we looking at the larger house here?
Yes, yeah, this is the house this is the kind of the plot plan for the house that we're requesting your
Okay,
approval on tonight. It is larger than the this is the kind of original approval for that lot or subdivision referral. So this lot will have tree clearing associated with it. There's not a stone wall delineating the boundary. The stone walls don't line up and are where the house is going, so they'll be removed on this one. So we'll obviously, we heard you, we'll put the markers in every 30 feet along with, these are the plantings that were proposed as part of the subdivision that are shown in color.
Are those circles the trees that are coming out? Have you marked all the trees coming out?
No, so the circles are the proposed plantings that we're putting in that were part of the
No, the little, and maybe it's just so small. Those are
no, so these
out, so I get.
circles with the A and the B are actually their keynotes for the sanitary system.
Okay.
So instead of calling the inverts out here, we put them in a table.
And so can you orient us to the wetland boundary and the 100-foot review line?
Yeah, so the wetland boundary is just right here. And then it runs down through here. This is the crossing that they've recently installed. This is the driveway coming in, and then this is the 100-foot review line here. This dash line that cuts the house, and then it continues up this way. So the septic system, the leaching field is out of the 100-foot review area. The house is mostly in, with the exception of the garage. The septic tank, and there'll be a pump associated with this septic system, are within the review area. And then obviously the grading and the well are within the review area.
How far is all of that from the wetland boundary?
Let me check for you.
Like 38 feet.
Yeah, so the house is about 38 feet. The limits in clearing and the edge of the grading is about 12 feet.
From the wetland boundary? So
From wetland, yeah.
So this must have changed a bit. I don't remember it being so close, or I mean, I know we actually didn't look at it.
Yep.
That's pretty
I think
close to have that to the wetland boundary.
it pushed slightly closer.
Mm-hmm.
You can see our limit of clearing was a little bit off the property line in the subdivision approval, and now we're basically proposing to clear to the property line.
And is that the culvert going into this lot,
Yes.
Aaron?
Yeah, this is the culvert crossing right here.
Okay,
Which on this plan, that's the culvert crossing right here that
Yep.
we're looking at.
okay.
So this is the wetland flows from the top of the page through the culvert down to the towards the bottom of the page.
Mm-hmm.
And given the grade, this house is above the wetland.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So this
So
lawn area will.
you're
flow-
proposing to put a house within 40 feet of this wetland.
Yes.
This, and the limits of clearing are 12 feet.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
I can-
that was said from the beginning. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, they've made this bigger, and maybe it was not. Maybe it
Or-
was still in there, but I'm
maybe-
pretty sure because they don't. They didn't. We would have, and I know you would have
Or maybe
commented
the
on
house is
really.
farther uphill to the northeast. Maybe that was the case.
So I think the house.
Does
So
seem
when-
closer to the culvert. Yep.
When,
I wish you can share both at the same time because I'm
'Cause
looking at the.
I think on the site walk the house was supposed to have been like farther north of the septic, and the septic was between the house and the culvert, if I'm not mistaken.
so that was the original design. But when we were going through the process with you guys for the subdivision recommendation, we moved the septic up the hill out of the upland review area. That was one of the concerns that we addressed.
Yes.
At that time.
Yes,
So we flip-flopped the house and the septic as part of that.
but you're proposing you're pretty close to the wetland boundary. And you're proposing to clear, I gather, a significant number of trees. Is
I
that
don't
right?
know. I don't know how many trees would be cleared, but it is wooded today, right? So the whole grading area would be cleared. I don't have an exact number. Oops.
I guess as you know, I can ask a different question as well that also came up and that I think we would be interested in hearing. Is there going to be a need for blasting on this property?
I don't believe so. The test pits we have don't show any ledge that would require blasting. I know when we first started this kind of application, when we were doing through the subdivision process, we had like a retaining wall and some more significant grading on these lots that we reduced. So we don't anticipate any blasting.
And there's no possible way to move this house farther away from the wetland?
We could look at pushing it up the hill if you would like.
But that would.
With the septic system.
Yeah, we'd have to push the septic system up the hill as well.
So you'd still be clearing.
Yeah, but you're not clearing as close. I mean, clearing that, so you're proposing to clear up to 12 feet from the wetland and then presumably, plant lawn there and fertilizer. I mean, it's going to fundamentally change that wetland. That stream will fundamentally change from what it is now, and it'll get clogged up with filamentous algae, and it will be hugely changed. And if you take away all those trees, you're going to fundamentally change other
The
things.
So you originally proposed a smaller house. Is that Because these houses are large, right?
Yeah,
Yes, yes. That I guess that's part of the deal is that, and that's why you come back. But, you're putting in a significantly larger house on a pretty tight lot.
How come I'm not seeing the wetland buffer on the one that he's shown? I'm looking on this, like the development plan from the approval of the subdivision.
It goes right through the garage.
It goes right
Yeah.
through the garage. Okay, well, it went right through the garage on the other plan too. That was the original. That's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah. So I just checked the distance. So this house, this is the subdivision plan that we had previously, is 50 feet to the house and 16 feet to the limits of clearing from the edge of the wetland right here. So when we did this, when we added this larger house to get to the newly proposed plan, we held this edge of the garage because we're confined by this property setback and the setbacks to our sanitary system. So the garage and this foundation drain all stayed in the same spot, and the house expanded
Towards
towards,
wetland.
yes, towards the wetland.
And what's the number now?
12 and 38.
Yeah, 38 feet
So
to
it
the
was
wetland.
50 and 15, and now it's 12 and 38.
It was 15 and 16, and now it's 12 and 38. And so it's just crept, closer. Like, I mean, it was already close. And this is, so it's hard to tell from this plan, but I guess, I, I would, I would prefer not to see lawn in those 12 feet next to the wetland. You shouldn't be putting lawn right up to the wetland edge. This is,
So
but
the 12 feet are where we're putting the plantings. After that, it would be lawn.
mhm.
We could look into pulling that grading back and putting some kind of swale to direct the lawn runoff down towards the stormwater management area versus sending it directly to the wetland. We can also
Well,
look into if we can push the house up at all to increase that distance.
it would be better not to have all that nitrogen fertilizer running into the stream because it will turn into a nasty, icky algal mess that a lot of the streams in this town are because of exactly this. And given that there's all this open space trying to preserve this, it would be great to try to preserve it. I don't know how, so is that a hard thing? Is that a destructive thing? Is it just a lot of disturbance to get the water down to the stormwater treatment?
No, I don't think so because we're already grading through. We're already grading through that area basically. So we can just look at refining the grading. We can also look into if we can push it up. I mean, every couple feet would get us closer to where we were before. So we can look at if we can push it up the hill to get a little more of a natural buffer. And we can also go back to visit if you guys would like some more, plantings to try to delineate that buffer between the wetlands and the lawn area better.
Well, often when we have people restoring wetland and anything else in their lawn area, we usually have at least a 10-foot buffer that is planted. So if that's, at the very least.
is the house already designed?
As far as architecture, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't have a
The-
septic approval on this either, correct?
No, there's no septic approval for this plan yet. This is the same septic design though, and same bedroom count. So I wouldn't anticipate any changes to it. But yeah, we could look at if you guys want. So right now we have the 12 feet of buffer that's kind of in the open space. We could look at adding another 10-foot planted buffer that's on this unit property instead of lawn. So that would give us, you'd have the 12 feet on open space and 10 feet on property would increase the buffer.
Well, that would be great. Other, I've been taking up all of the attention. Does anybody else have questions or comments as we discuss this application?
I kind of remember when Bob told us way back when that they had to bring the house downhill. I just forgot the reason.
Because of the septic, I think when we went on the site walk.
Well, that's
Yep.
where the test holes are.
Right,
If
we
you
saw-
move that uphill, then you're gonna have to do new test holes.
Oh,
And
I think they hit
everybody was
groundwater.
worried.
Did they hit groundwater, Aaron, when it was down low?
I don't know if there's. Let me see if there's. I don't remember if there's groundwater in these test holes or not.
But I think that's why they had to go uphill, because when it was lower, they hit the groundwater too shallow.
Yeah. So
Now
the
it's ringing a bell now.
there is groundwater in. So these test holes over here that we're not using for the sanitary
Yeah.
system do have water in them at like 20 inches. These ones, it's further up.
Okay, I think that's the reason they had to flip flop.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not thinking that we can. I think when we first came in with this application, we had a house that was really up the hill. You know,
Yes.
it was really far up, and that's why we had the,
Oh, yeah, and there was going
the
to be
wall, and there was going to be a lot
a
of
wall.
earthwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I don't think we can go back to like really up the hill, but we could look at, you know, if we put in a planted buffer and move up the hill a couple feet, you know, maybe we could kind of chew away at the problem a little bit at a time to try to make it better solution for everyone.
Is this system?
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you muted yourself, Joe.
Okay, my lips were moving. So I may have missed it. Is this a geomatrix design septic
I believe
or standard?
these are they're both geomatrix in the back. Let me just double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're proposing to use a 30-inch geomatrix
Okay.
section on this one. So yeah, so they would be the geomatrix with the stone and sand that they put in the form.
Thank you.
And I guess the other thing I would recommend is I think it would be helpful to know how many trees. I mean, if you're taking everything out, that's pretty huge. It doesn't seem, I mean, are you going to take everything out within the lot? All of the trees?
No, so we would just be proposing to clear. Oops.
They have a squiggly little line around that looks like what they're saying is the edge of clearing.
Oops.
Yeah, that's pretty standard edge of clearing symbology.
Okay.
Yeah, this
So
kind of wavy line would be our edge of clearing.
How about
Yep. I would recommend as a condition to show that the commission has identified the letter sent in by the attorney for the neighbor that no clearing shall take place past the septic system.
well, I think
think
the
it-
neighbor letter just said that they're going to put up a fence, right?
They did, but at least we heard them. So we can help make a condition that there shall be no encroachment. It was a
Right.
little overprotective on their end to send the letter, but
Well, better be proactive, perhaps.
yes, yep.
Um, okay. Yeah, so I guess it would be helpful. I mean, as you clear, it may be helpful to not take out really big trees or significant trees, if there's any way to keep some of those trees there, I think especially given the grade, that would be helpful. Especially if you don't have a count of what's coming out. And especially since, you're going to clear that patch, you're going to clear another patch. There's already been clearing for the culvert. Um, that's going to be a lot to stabilize.
Okay.
And
We can also prepare a count for next month if that's helpful to you guys.
How about a retaining wall on the westerly side of the house, like about where that first contour line past the house is?
How
That
about a
way,
retaining wall for what? To do one, or is there one?
no. How about if you put one in there? That way you wouldn't have to be clearing down below it, or you could better replant it and it wouldn't be lawn.
Yeah, we could consider if we can put a kind of a small wall.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
2-3 feet high, then it would drop down and then that below have plantings or no cuttings or whatever. I don't know how much equipment you'd have to put in to do something like that. But
Yeah.
then you could have more planting in there and it wouldn't be a lawn that someone's sprinkling nitrogen on.
well, yeah.
I
So
can point with my finger, but the rest of you people can't see it.
And you're talking about if you guys can see the
Yeah,
cursor.
right in that area. There's the first contour line right after the house. Maybe somewhere's in there have a,
Wouldn't you think that would be more intrusive, disturbance than just plantings?
yeah, I mean,
well, it's about a 20% slope anyways. There'd be less erosion, I would think. You're not gonna have something running right down the slope.
well, I think that area, I mean, that is definitely an area where it would be good to minimize clearing and definitely have a buffer, a vegetated buffer that with native species in that area. So so it sounds like, I mean, there's a lot going on here that we've talked about. So I think maybe, Aaron, that, and this would be a lot to put into conditions. And so do you think it would be possible to come back with this one, given some of what we talked about?
Yeah.
And
Well,
maybe
I think it'd be
clarify, you know, some of, minimizing the impact on the wetland.
yeah. No, I think that would be good if we come back, get you a revised plan before next month's meeting, so you've got some time to look at it, and we can look at what we can do to get some sort of buffer in there, maybe a small wall, move the house a little, and just some of the other stuff we talked about. We'll get it shown on the plan as well.
Yeah, and you're the engineer. If it makes sense to have a swale or something to direct the stormwater from this lot, not into that adjacent wetland, but over to where it can catch into the created stormwater. I don't know if that, I don't want to, I don't want to, not try to complicate, but if there's an easy way to do that, that would help as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good. We'll take another look at it, try to incorporate some of these ideas, and then we'll get you a cleaned up plan for discussion next month.
Well, that would be lovely. And I appreciate you taking these suggestions and comments into consideration.
We did have a hand raised,
Oh,
but it's up to you if you want to hear anybody or not. This is from the attorney's office of the neighbor who sent a letter, who has a concern about encroachment.
we can do a short 2 minute. They can speak for 2 minutes.
Let's see if she has a question.
Yeah, but to what lot? This one.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I promise to be very
Please.
brief. I really appreciate you taking the time. My name's Lisa Feinberg. I'm a partner with Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, and my firm represents Dr. Sujata Prasad, the owner of 50 Strawberry Hill Road, which directly abuts units 3 and 4 in this development. My partner, as you know, Jay Klein, he alluded in his letter that we submitted last Friday that Dr. Prasad is not opposed to the development of the property, but she is very concerned about ensuring her property is not adversely impacted. She believes the applicant may have removed trees from her property in the past and just wants to make certain this doesn't happen in the future. So to this end, the condition that you included on your subdivision requiring the markers, some sort of staking along the property line just to delineate where the applicant's property meets my client's property. If it's possible to include something like that in your conditions, we'd be really grateful. And then she'll take things into account when she erects a fence. That's really all I had to say.
I would like to just point out to Lisa that there has been no trees removed from this portion of the property. They were not allowed to do any clearing. And we've been monitoring that because there was a wetland crossing that we had to monitor that's already been approved, and that regulated activity.
Okay.
Permit had already been approved with the subdivision referral. So we know that no trees have been removed from the back portion of this subdivision, which would be opposite of the culvert, which would abut Dr. Prasad's property. Also, if she is interested in erecting a fence, she would have to come to file an inland wetland application. We just want to make her aware of that. Because
Okay.
where she's looking to erect the fence does have a wetland line go right through it
Okay.
at her property line. Okay,
Great. I appreciate you all letting me address you tonight.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, that is helpful. So we will table that 25-20 and come to that next month, which takes us to the next one, 25-21, 454 Horsepond Road. And this one is also, but not up on the hillside.
So this is lot 4.
Yes.
Yes. Is Aaron still with us? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it's coming.
Don't go.
So share it again. So lot 4 is the one to the right of the lot that we were just looking at. In this area this is the old subdivision plan. And then this is the new proposed lot. So you have the wetlands crossing here on your left. You have this wetland that runs through here. There's a stone wall along this proposed property line. And then you have the upland review area that cuts through basically halfway through the garage and the majority of the house right here.
And where? Oh, and the septic's in the back. Okay.
Yeah, the septic is in the same spot, same septic design. It's the geometric system again, but the septic is the same as was approved previously. Same thing with health, though. We have not gone back with the revised house plan. We're still working on preparing that application.
So this house size grew as well, but did not have as much impact, right?
Yeah, so this house grew. It did get, if we look, it did get closer over here towards the stone wall and the wetlands, and actually the shape of the house, it's kind of got a little angle to it now that it didn't have previously. So the garage is kind of set off on a little bit of an angle. So I can check the distances for you on how close that is to the wetlands now and was previously.
Would have been nice if you showed the wetland all the way downhill from the house. so we could see past the stone wall where it went to. I
Yeah,
don't-
so
I don't expect you to draw it in real quick right now, though.
no, I can show you this plan just to give you an idea.
Oh, okay, yeah, it
so
kind
you
of
can
curves
see-
away from the property line.
curves away just slightly and then comes back. So I think the closest point is still up here by
Yeah.
wetland, between
Yeah.
30 and 37. And then there's 37 right there. On the new plan.
Yeah, just for future reference, if we're looking at wetland impacts, we need to know where the wetlands are. And then, when you come in with a plan like this for the house, it's nice to show a little more wetland than just at stop at the property line.
We can enlarge those for you for sure. So on the original subdivision plan, the corner of the house was 58 feet to the wetlands. We are 55 feet now. So we're 3 feet closer.
Okay. And so you've got the limited clearing there again. And I assume you don't know how many trees you're taking out.
No, I don't know how many trees. We could look into that for you though.
And
but
this would go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say you've got this is the I guess it's the southern edge would be delineated with those open space markers. Is that right?
Yeah, so this whole line
Yeah.
is abuts the open space. Yeah, so we would delineate this whole line. Stone wall through this piece of it, and then it kind of diverges from the stone wall over towards the wetland crossing here.
And you still have some significant grade, right? So this house is up, and
Yeah,
it looks like
this house is
you've got
above the wetland. Yep.
a lot of contour lines. So is there, again, people often want lawn. I don't know, even if you clear, that's pretty
It's gonna be a
steep.
real problem to mow.
Yeah. So is there blasting? And blasting, I think would, that close to the wetland would probably need to come back to us. Or, you know, do somehow landscape and terrace, or not terrace, but you would, I guess it's hard to say, but if that's going to be lawn, well, then I guess it's lawn.
Yeah, so this is the front yard is a 3-to-1 at its steepest point coming on
Yeah.
the corner of the house here. And yeah, the proposal is to clear basically to the stone wall. We could look at putting a buffer kind of from the stone wall over towards the crossing to kind of protect that wetland and help delineate where the open space is. Kind
I
of
think that would be good.
on the other lot. We could
Um,
look into that.
yeah. Anything to buffer and have a vegetated buffer that is catching a lot of this water that's going to run off and catching fertilizer and eventually septic, whatever, would be helpful.
This grading in there is gonna give poor Maria agita, trying to make sure it's not eroding down into the wetland.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's
We're
going
gonna
to be
need some
tricky.
serious erosion control post-building, like erosion control matting.
Matt, there's gonna have to be blankets or something.
Yeah,
We've had issue before on opening
yes.
steepness, yeah.
And
Yeah.
also
Basic
you got a
builder.
proposed stockpile that's on that steep slope.
Our good old buddy Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We could add blankets to the 3-to-1 slope on this, just some matting.
And
And we can-
I mean, if you keep some of the trees there, or, I mean, that would really help with your erosion issues. That's gonna be?
But you have to go in there with a grading, and if you can't go fill
Uh,
it around existing trees, they just die. And moving the house wouldn't help because a lot of this grading is because of the driveway, and you can't do anything about that. Although there's no other access to the lot.
well, it would be helpful to do as much as you can to minimize that's pretty steep, the erosion, so that it doesn't get down into the wetland. And
Yeah, we can have
having,
blankets. We can also put some, we can probably put silt fence and hay bales along the bottom instead of just a silt fence too.
Well, you
yeah,
could also put something in the middle of the slope too. Double up on it,
Double row or something,
put some down at the bottom and then put some up
halfway.
higher.
yeah.
I'm
And I
speaking
guess
from
that
all the
would be,
mistakes I made as a wetlands agent.
yeah, it would be great to see some more plantings coming off from near the culvert, just to add some more dedicated vegetated buffer. And definitely there's going to need to be some significant erosion control happening there. I have a slight digression. Have the property issues, the encroachments from those other neighbors been sorted out?
I don't know.
Which doesn't, it was just more of interest.
Yes, no, I don't know. I know that, I believe they were going to talk, oh, this was a while ago, before they started the culvert. I left it up to them to knock on a door. And I
Okay.
honestly don't know whether they did or didn't. They're also encroaching on, Strawberry too. They're not just encroaching on our, property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be
Yeah,
not
it
our,
was
that
a
is not
civil
our thing.
issue that for them
but-
to work out, yeah. Until it's a thing, then I have to get involved.
Okay. So, other questions or comments? Lot 4.
And Aaron, again, I'm seeing that there's not gonna be a lot of room, so we're not anticipating any pool.
No, I would not anticipate a pool on this one. I mean,
Between
as
the
far
green,
as-
there's no
Yeah.
room and, yeah.
yeah, as far
There's
as
no
zoning
room.
concerned, this house is what's going to fit on this lot.
Yeah, if you've chosen house over pool, which is
Yeah,
fine.
just barely too, as I'm looking at the lines here.
Okay, so it sounds like, we're gonna want to see more plantings. We want to see more ENS for sure. Are there anything else that agency members that pop up as we discuss this?
Do we want to bring this back with planting specified on the plan?
I think so.
Yeah, plus, have some erosion control methods actually shown on the plan rather than just talked about. So we have some
Okay,
Yeah,
benefit,
and a
something-
detailed,
something
yeah,
in the
detailed
record.
sheet would be nice too, which I think there was, but if you're gonna do
detailed.
additional. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So, Aaron, is that since you're coming back with the other one?
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. I just missed Maria. You were asking for a detail or something.
is there a different detail sheet on the ENS?
I think we just have our standard kind of silt fence, but we can
Yeah, if you're
We'll
gonna up, if
we'll
you're gonna
get some
up,
blankets and some hay
right,
bales, and we'll kind
yeah,
of really reinforce that for you on this one.
okay,
We can take a look at that on lot 3 as well, just to make sure that we're protecting that stream wetlands corridor.
And like I suggested, if you put an erosion control, if you put a silt fence in the middle of the slope, you'll slow things down so it doesn't put so much strain on the bottom.
Well,
Yeah, we could look at putting something to kind of cut it off, whether it's a silt fence or a row of hay bales or something to break it up before it gets to the
Yeah,
bottom.
either one. I mean, it's not a long slope, but it is 20%. I measured it.
yeah, it's pretty steep back there.
Yeah.
So that would be great, Aaron, if you can bring those two back with some more detail. And if you want, you can verify any more pool issues, although looking at both those lots, that would be tricky to get one in.
Maybe we just say no pool.
Yeah.
That'd save the
And
people the trouble of coming to us and having us say no.
well, it'll just be good to be
I don't think
clear.
they can fit it. I mean,
I don't think you can. Yeah, maybe a hot tub, I don't know. Sauna. Um, and also for all of them, the demarcations, you can get all that on as well. I'm sure you've been taking notes.
Yeah. Nope. We'll get those all on there, and we'll try to get them back to you guys in the next couple of weeks, so you got time to look it over before the next meeting, and then
thank you.
we'll be back to discuss it next month.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been helpful to chat about this, and thank you for bringing those back with more information for next month. So we'll see you in July.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much. Have
Shocking.
a good evening.
You
Thank
too.
Good evening.
All right. Okay. So we have 2522 10 Northwood Road. This is a regulated activity to construct an addition, a 1-bedroom, single-car garage, and replace an existing screened-in porch within the 100-foot review.
Yes, and I believe the architect, Mr. Dombrowski, is here to present.
Great. So
Ted, if you can unmute, and that would be great.
there, great.
There we go.
Ooh. I'll just stay dark. I'll move this light. So, Mr. Dombrowski, do you want to chat with us a little about, kind of orient us to this application?
Let me share my screen with you.
Sure.
Be great.
So this is Ted Dombrowski. Can you see
Yeah, it's
site
a little
rendering?
small.
Yeah,
Yeah, is
good.
there a way to enlarge that?
Okay. So Ted Dombrowski Architects, 71 Whitfield Street in Guilford. I'm here on behalf of Maria and Ken McNeil this evening for their proposed ADU addition with a 1-car attached garage. The proposed addition and garage, the 1-car garage adjoins an existing 2-car garage. The ADU, 798 square feet, is located behind the existing house and attached to the house at the garage. We looked at locating the addition and ADU on this part of the house. One, it's the most level section of the property, so it provides easy access from the driveway into the garage and into the ADU for Maria's parents, as well as it's away from the existing septic tank field, which are downhill to the west. There are also wetlands on the west side of the property along Route 79. So were we to put the ADU on the other side of the house, it created a condition where we were running into septic issues, as well as we still had an issue with being within the 100-foot review area for wetlands on the west. Having said that, the closest point of the proposed addition to the wetlands is approximately 40 feet. And all of the construction for the garage and the ADU are currently located on parts of the property that are already landscaped either as lawn or flanked by planting beds and existing tree lines. So we're not proposing to disturb any areas that are in a more natural state. We do have one redwood maple here that I know one of your board members noted. I was out at the site today, and it turns out that red maple lands just about on the corner of the proposed addition. So that red maple will be the one tree that's being proposed to be removed. The other oaks that are up the bank are far enough away that they should not be disturbed at all. The addition is compliant with zoning regulations for setbacks, building height, coverage issues. We had a B100 test done, and there are no issues there. The existing septic tank and fields are sized adequately for the one bedroom of the addition of the ADU. And then the existing driveway and turning area is approximately in line with the proposed one-car garage. So we don't anticipate any change to the asphalt or bituminous paving other than repair areas around the existing foundation to put in the garage. Are there questions?
Yes. You've got that magnified. Can you make it smaller so we can see the whole thing?
Let me switch to the full site plan.
Well, I can just ask.
Okay.
It looks like the wetlands have not been delineated in a while. Is that correct?
Yes, they were correct. I based this wetlands line off of the original subdivision map. And then also
And that's
looked at,
1995.
I believe so, yes. Also looked at what was flagged. Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
Also looked at what was flagged or noted on the town websites and GIS data. So yeah, there were wetlands here and then this area over on the far west towards Route 79.
Unlike our other applications, this wetland is actually uphill, so nothing's gonna be washing into them from during construction.
Is that right, Mr. Dombrowski?
Yeah, yes, this area here.
No, you can't, you're not
I
sharing
can't-
anymore. Hold on.
You're not sharing anymore.
You share.
Okay.
You need to, I unshared so you can reshare.
Yeah, if we had a couple of contour lines, I might not have even gone out there to look at it.
I was gonna ask if anybody did. I did. I know. Lee-
I did, and I walked around the side of the house and where's the wetlands? Well, they were uphill from the site.
Mhm.
That's a vernal pond, so I sampled that. I've been
Yeah.
sampling that vernal pond for about 10 years, 12 years.
It's got
Yeah,
critters.
there's a pretty defined bank that runs uphill, probably 10 to 15 feet off the proposed addition, and then it levels out. Maybe it gains 2.5 to 3 feet in elevation, and then it levels out along the property line, an old stone wall, and then you've got the wetlands area.
Well, I guess it would be helpful to, and it was hard to see from what was submitted, to understand you're going to be adding impervious surface and there'll be more runoff. So it'd be helpful to understand where that's going to go, or if it's going to be treated, or are you just going to let it infiltrate?
We are going to let it infiltrate into along the garage into a gravel trench area, and then off of the addition into a dry well.
Can you bring up the plan again, Maria?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that, we typically have asked people to get wetlands delineated if it's been especially this long, which in my head, 1994 or 5 is not that long ago, but sadly, it's sadly, it's farther away than I would have loved. Um, it would be nice to get a proper delineation, as wetland boundaries do shift and change. In fact, you could be farther away, closer.
Yeah, there's a possibility that we're farther away. I don't think it'll be far enough to where we'll be out of the review area. And this potentially they may have migrated west and be a little bit closer. But all of the proposed work is within an area that is currently landscaped as lawn and ground cover, shrubbery plantings. So we're not disturbing up any of the sloped area that's closer to the wetlands.
And there aren't, as far as I can tell, what was did, there aren't any contour lines.
No, there's no contour lines, but from the front of this parking area around the proposed addition and to the back of the apartment, it is a pretty level contour. Everything slopes from, I'd say, the center of the house to the west, going downhill.
So, Maria, don't we typically have more detail on some of these site plans?
So this is an architectural plan drawn site plan taken from an existing survey. Actually, I think it was just an improvement location survey or a house location map done by Kenny and Stevens when the house was built. So they're recreating it from a survey that's on file. If there's no contours on it, then they're not getting the contours. As far as wetland delineation, we always recommend I can't force anybody. It's up to them to come, and then when you guys say it's gotta go, it's gotta go. I know I took pictures. I was just trying to locate them.
Can I share pictures with you?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me stop sharing.
So here, this is from the front of the house looking to the south. So the proposed one-car garage, you can see the edge of the asphalt pavement.
Are you sure?
You're not
We're not
you're not
seeing
sharing
anything.
it.
Not sharing?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I always do recommend an updated survey and wetland delineation, but until, I know it comes to you and you guys say you're not gonna approve it until.
Well, that's what we've been doing
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the same thing.
I was more
Especially this
concerned
one.
about the location of it seemed like the preschool property was super close to me, but a little blessing
That's up, yeah.
on 79 seemed like the fence was right there in the backyard.
Okay, so you can see this photo now?
Yep.
Yes,
No.
Okay.
Oh, I can't.
you can.
Interesting.
I can.
Oh,
Okay, so
wow.
this is
That's so weird.
this is looking south from
Oh, there I can.
just to the front and left of the existing two-car garage. There's the bituminous paving, and that bituminous paving is the front corner of the new proposed garage. So that garage is going to extend to the back corner of the existing garage, pretty much take the place of these two trimmed boxed shrubs. And then the addition for the ADU is located behind the house. This bank area and this shrubbery and ground cover is not going to be disturbed. And then this red maple here is the maple that falls in the corner of the outside corner of the ADU addition.
So that tall tree in the middle of the picture, that's gonna stay, right?
That's going to stay, and this sloped bank, you know, the top of the bank here along the planting beds stays.
And that maple's a Japanese maple, so we don't care about it.
Yeah, it's not a native.
That was a facetious comment in case this gets into the minutes.
I believe the homeowner is online with her hand raised. Ted,
Oh,
is she online?
I love those things. They add pop.
the beginning of the wetlands is actually farther to the left of than those plants.
Yes, if I zoom in here, you can see a partial stone wall line. And that falls with approximately with the property line. And based on what I noted for the wetlands, the wetlands stop short of that property and stone wall line.
Is the homeowner online? There's someone with their hand raised that says M, and I don't know if that's Maria or not.
Maria was on.
Because she does have her hand raised, Kaya, if you wanna, if she could speak.
Sure.
Sure.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. So I'm Maria McNeil, and we're the ones that are applying for this edition. And as Ted mentioned, we are retaining all of what you see here, other than the Japanese maple. That's the only thing that's going, aside from the box shrubs as well. We are trying to maintain all of the shrubbery that we have established here. And as far as the runoff is concerned, the way it happens today is when there's a major rainstorm, the water actually comes forward and across our driveway midway. It doesn't even actually come down to this picture. It actually comes farther forward past where the stairs are that Ted was showing and comes across. And we've had to build somewhat of a drainage system since the last major flooding that we had. And so that's actually resolved a lot of the runoff issue for us. And you can't even see it. It's actually farther from this picture.
Well, there's a stone, looks like a stone trench right alongside the driveway. That's part of the drainage system.
Yes, you got it,
Okay.
Steve.
Other questions?
Oh,
Well, I guess, um, well, so it's interesting. So you've added a drainage system and that gets the water away from the house down the driveway? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
it already was coming. So I wish I had another picture to show you. If you have one, Ted, of like the front of the house, maybe, I don't know, but it's actually, it was like this when we moved in. So the wetlands is to the left on this picture, up a little bit. And when there's a lot of rain that comes, like, you know, when we had those storms that lasted like days, the
Mhm.
water would pool on the left. So on the other side of that bush, that's the farthest to the left there, it would pool on that side and come all the way down in front, way in front of the stairs that are to the right there, and go across the driveway. Probably like, I'm trying to, I don't know if you want to show them. Yeah, so it's like far, see where the stairs are on the right there in that map?
So it's further down in this area that you're getting the
Correct,
runoff by the driveway, not
exactly.
not that it's coming down and flowing
Nope.
either side of the house.
You got it. You got it. Why that happens, I don't know, but that's been the way it's been since we moved in. And it goes all the way down and across where the narrowing of the driveway is. And so we had to build a drainage that now goes on the other side of the driveway to pick up that water. So it goes down into the other wetlands that's towards 79, actually. So that flow stays in existence.
When you get the heavy rains, is the wetland draining across your property?
No, that's what I'm saying. It goes across the driveway where that narrowing is.
Yeah,
And
but where's the water coming from? Just off your property from not soaking in fast enough, or is the wetland filling up and then flowing out?
no, I don't think it's from the wetlands because there's
Okay.
a stone wall there.
Yeah.
It's just from like overflow of rain.
I mean, the properties, all of the property slopes from east to west in the direction of Route 79.
Right.
So I would think it's the runoff is just sheet flow across the property, and when it hits the driveway, it's exposed.
Yeah, did you all see the stone wall that it butts up against the wetlands today?
I saw it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have.
And
Okay.
can you go over, Tom, again, where the water from the new roofs it's going to go?
We're going to take the water off of the garage and the addition, and tie it in with the existing leaders from the house that run into dry wells.
So both are going into dry wells.
Well, pardon?
Both. So the garage and the one bedroom are gonna both, the water is gonna tie into the leaders and go into dry wells.
Right.
Where's the dry well gonna be?
I
Well, it must be
believe there is one existing in this corner.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay.
So you're not, I don't think you can. You're not building, you're not doing a dry well.
We're gonna tie into the existing.
Yeah, okay. Um, so I guess for the agency members, we have, been trying to be uniform in our request to have wetlands delineated. If they are over 5 to 10 years old. Um, and it is always helpful to see contour lines on maps, but I guess we have a sense of what's going on. Are there comments or what what are you guys thinking about this?
I think it's, to be consistent, I think it would be good to have the wetlands delineated. I'm not as concerned, after seeing the pictures, I'm not as concerned about the contour lines. That's my opinion, anyway.
Well, as devil's advocate, the wetlands are uphill. They're not being impacted. I don't think redelineation of the wetlands is worth the time and expense, but I'm not the chairman either.
Well,
I,
and this
I,
obvious
I
this
agree. I agree with Steve, since the activity is all downhill and there's going to be an undeveloped area that they're not going to do any activity in. I don't have any concerns similar to what Steve just said.
That's okay with me, too.
This is one of those rare situations where there's no stormwater runoff to be concerned about.
Well, I make a motion that we approve application 2522 10 Northwood Road. I think we probably have a staff memo on that.
right. So Ted, if you don't mind stopping sharing.
Sure.
Well, I'll second the motion so we can go on with discussion.
Yeah, so we can discuss. I'll pull up the um so there aren't current flags, so we're, estimating how far it is from the wetland. I guess that is something else to take into account when you haven't delineated it, is that it's approximating it based on older maps, and in this case, it's from 1994. This is the staff memos that we are now discussing. I guess I would um I would I would like to make sure, if we're not going to ask for wetland delineation on this, um I think it should be really clear that that all of this activity is, there isn't going to be any clearing except for the one tree, and it's we're not going to have any surprises about what's going to happen in this area.
Yeah, we don't plan on removing any other trees.
Well, I think what the condition, our condition should be that, you're being, is on this plan that we're seeing tonight is one tree being removed. So I would put in the condition that if there is going to be more clearing or any other activity not noted on this plan, that it would need to come back to us. So there's, and if there were to be more activity, I think that would definitely trigger a wetland delineation. I think I personally think, we should be uniform, and I understand that in this case, the wetland is upheld. The slope, from what we can see, is away from the wetland. And but I think, the clearing should be minimized. Sounds like it's going to be minimized. Um, But if anything changes from what is, um, from what we've discussed and what is set out on the application tonight, then I think it would need to come back to us. So I guess briefly, a condition in addition to the two you see up there would be just very clearly, any other activity would need to come back.
Is it too late to look at the plan again? Can we look at the plan? Because your condition made me think of something.
Yes, but I have to figure out, let me stop sharing. Ted, do you have the plan?
Let's see. Here's the full site plan.
That one, where's the erosion ENS line on that?
In control is this dash line.
That's what I thought. That's a lot close. That's a lot further away than that, than that, hill in the picture. That's not the right word. The rise in that picture that you were showing us was a lot closer to the edge of the driveway, it seemed like. And I thought you said that there wasn't going to be any disturbance on the side of that slope.
Yeah,
You know
I had put the erosion control along the property line.
Yeah.
We can we
Can we
can
look at
move it.
Look at
We
that
can
picture.
move,
Can you look
we
at the
can move-
picture? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
right?
Can you look at the picture again? Because I want to make sure I'm clear with what you were saying.
The photo or the
Yeah.
rendered?
Yeah, the photo.
Okay, so can you see the photo now?
No, not yet.
No? Okay.
No.
Hold on. I got it.
Yeah, see that?
Oh, I think I swiped them away.
I'm kind of at a loss for words, but that rise there, that seems a lot closer.
That is probably a third closer than where I had located it originally closer to the property line stone wall.
So
And then we-
So you're locating it more back here.
were you planning on putting the erosion controls back there?
We can relocate that erosion control to the top of the rise of between the lawn, right in here, between the lawn and the landscaping.
Yeah, I think it would be good to minimize the limits of disturbance and show that on the plan if that's what you intend to do.
I'd be glad to relocate that.
I mean, as far as that erosion control fence goes, if it's uphill, it's not erosion control.
That's true.
But if you're just using it to tell people where you don't put equipment, that functions also.
That's true. That's true.
Correct.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
soon as you start
And I
digging
think-
out for the foundation there for the garage, you've pretty much eliminated any runoff from the site. It'll all go around the back of the house.
Right. Right.
So yeah, we're in the middle of our motion, so this is helpful to get clarification. I think I think pulling it back and keeping it closer, if you're not really clearing, and it does appear there's going to be any erosion, that's great. I still would like, and this is going to be voted. I guess I still would like to be clear. So I guess, one of the conditions, since we're in the middle of the motion, can be to, if it makes sense if this is what you guys are thinking, one condition could be to move the ENS closer. Is that closer to the actual activity? Is that what
Yeah.
Lee, you're saying?
further away from the wetland, basically. is what-
Okay,
You can put it right at the top of that bank. I don't think that'll get in the way of equipment.
so, so, so one condition can be to, move the ENS controls further from the wetland. And then I guess I still would like as the fourth that, we are, what we see in this application is what we're getting as far as what's going to happen. So if anything changes, oh, thank you. Thank you, Maria. I'm trying to keep it all straight in my head. So as Maria has demonstrated, this is what, this could be our modified, motion with the conditions that we've just discussed. If you all are comfortable with this, we
We just have
can
to finish.
finish.
Yeah, the site plan needs to be modified to show the erosion sediment control. Do we want to say further from the wetland or closer to the activity or limited disturbance? We just need to, where's it moving?
As far,
Further front,
as far from
go
the
ahead.
wetland as possible.
Yeah, further from the wetland.
That's it? Further from,
That'll be
That's fine.
clear. So, for the agency members, are you comfortable with our modified motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? No. Okay, all in favor of our modified motion, raise your hand, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Great. You're welcome. All right, so we have one last application is 25-23, 20 Park Avenue. Again, this is one that we could drive by and look at. This is to construct exterior additions, deck, spa, pool, and landscaping within the 100-foot upland review. And we have Mr. Mandel.
Good evening, everybody. The address is 20 Park Avenue. What they're proposing is some additions on the house, adding to a porch area and a swimming pool. There is a wetland area there. We had Bob Russo look at it to see if it was a vernal pool or not. We do have a letter from Bob, and I'll just give you, which is on file, part of the application. The vernal pool study was done April 1st, April 16th, 2025. Let's see what he said here. Yeah, the investigation was conducted by wading through the entire ponded area, make sure no visual observations, dip netting at several locations, obtained samples from within the water column. No vernal pool species were netted or observed on these dates, nor was there any evidence of frogs coursing, presence of spermatophores, or any vernal pool species found. It's noted that CLA observed egg masses at other nearby locations in Guilford and Essex on the same date. The pool was clogged with green algae during both investigations, and CLA concludes that this wetland is not a vernal pool. The surrounding land use provides little upland habitat and makes it unlikely to support a vernal pool. So that was the wetland. It's more or less a runoff area for Park Avenue. I'm sure if you have driven up there, you looked at it. It's loaded with filamentous algae. It kind of smells a little bit. And there was no life in there. Surrounded pretty much by lawn, where there's also an extensive landscape plan that's part of this application. And that's done by Gwen Hershap, who's present here if anyone wanted to talk to her about the specific plantings. They're all native species. There's no blasting associated with this. They're going to be using the existing ledge. The architect was very careful in using the ledge for the porch area. And there are about 4 or 5 trees that will be removed, which clearly show on the plan with a TBR symbol. I think that's pretty much it. It's a very flat lot. It's maybe a 2% slope across there, and it's a fairly harmless project in regards to the actual effect to any of that to that detention area.
Anybody want to say anything?
I think it'd be helpful to have the site plan up. So is there, um, but this is a natural wetland. It's not a created detention. Is that right?
It's hard to say, Kilo. It could have been created quite a while ago. I'm not aware whether that's a natural wetland or not. It seemed like it was a depression in the middle of this lot. It may have been done originally to contain stormwater. There is a pipe that leads from across the street. If you zoom in on it, Maria, you can see what feeds it. It's to the just to that little tail of the wetlands. You can see a pipe. So there's water across the street. That's not wetlands either. It just kind of feeds that little isolated pocket. And there's actually no daylighting. That pond just kind of sits there. There's no overflow. It just overflows naturally or just gets larger and smaller as the water conditions or rain conditions dictate.
So it was a vernal pool survey. It wasn't functions and values. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so Bob Russo did send a letter in that said that was not a vernal pool. It was loaded with filamentous algae.
Right. But that's different than a functions and values estimate, right?
I don't believe he did a functions and values. He did do an evaluation of the pool.
Okay.
It functions as a stormwater system. That's what the function is.
So is that is that where you're putting your stormwater?
No, we're not doing anything with stormwater. There's no, since we're reducing the impervious area, there's no stormwater requirement to capture any stormwater. We're just leaving it as is. We're not putting anything into it at all.
Just
So
over the grass.
It's just going to be lawn, correct. And actually, if you look at the southern part of the structure, that's just going to be an open porch there.
and you're
And
decreasing the impervious surface by taking out the driveway?
The paved driveway to the north is being removed, yes.
And that's matching the additions that you're putting on, the 1,000 square foot that you're putting on.
It's a net loss, yes.
Quite a bit of the property is within the storm surge area.
So it is within a flood zone. It is the flood hazard area. I believe we just miss it actually. So it's you can see the flood zones are on there.
Yep.
And
that of course is not our bailiwick.
right, but it's so the garage it's an AE 12, so you can see the garage floor elevation is 1233, so we are just out of it.
Yeah.
But since it is an inland wetland, we did have a coastal site plan included in this because inland wetlands are considered a critical coastal resource.
And I can't remember if we talked about this last time. Is the pond there? There's lawn right up to it?
Yes, it's surrounded by lawn. Yes.
But there's no markers showing that that it's a wetland. There's no boundary marker.
Yeah, Bob Russo had their flags. It was flagged by Bob Russo. You can see the flag locations on the plan. WF3, 5. Yeah, so that was flagged.
Well,
I didn't. Go ahead.
That's blue like it's a pond, but actually the pond is about half that size and the rest of it is wetland that's planted, or at least has a lot of vegetation going on.
Steve, so the actual water does contract and expand.
So what I think I misspoke there. Yes, I can see the wetlands are flagged. Did we discuss, I guess we haven't talked about this.
No, it's only received. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Given, we have a wetland in a backyard, typically we've been asking people to put wetland markers up to minimize more encroachment than there already is. Is that something your client would be willing to?
It's so obvious where the wetland is, and they're not
Yeah.
proposing, and it's been like that for years. Well, I understand that, but I mean, this is a lawn area. I don't think to put what, like posts, like 4x4 posts surrounding it. That kind of looks silly, actually. The wetlands themselves, it's very obvious where that pond is or pool.
When your lawnmower starts throwing water, you're there.
Yeah, people leave that alone. It's been like that for years. No one's touched it. Like I said, it's just lawn right up to the wet.
Yeah, it's cut grass.
Other questions for the applicant?
It looks like there's a lot going on, but when you think about what's being built, not very much disturbance. Well, except for the pool.
Right, and it's flat in that area. Like I
Yeah.
said, less than 2% slope.
What are you gonna do? You gotta dig a hole to put a pool in. What's happening is the dirt being hauled out.
Yep, there's no room for it. It's going to be hauled out.
Yeah, I didn't see any
So there's a
stockpile and I didn't see any place to put a stockpile.
No,
stockpile
no.
area right here.
Yeah, we'll probably won't use it though. It'll probably be hauled right off the site.
Oh, but,
It'd be more expensive to stockpile it and then move it. They're just going to truck it right out of there.
well, and you gotta take it around the other side of the house.
Yeah, no, I don't.
How close is your closest? I think you had that called out somewhere, or maybe I saw it on the plan.
29 feet. 29 feet.
Right, and that'll be to the open porch, but it's sitting on ledge right now, so you can look at the grades. It goes from 12 to almost 20 in that one spot.
Yeah, it raises up. And I'm assuming all the posts are gonna be set on the ledge.
That's correct.
And the planting, as you said, that's all native
Yes. Yep.
species.
That's pretty standard. All these landscape architects, they know better than to put any non-natives shrubs in there.
Well, we still get it here and there. It's always good to check.
Well, yeah, the nurseries sell them, so homeowners come by later and plant whatever they want, pretty much.
We do have.
Go ahead, Maria.
I was going to say there's some landscape plan that was submitted, and I think there was a revision with some of the materials that was submitted.
Right. I had mentioned to Gwen that it should be native species on there.
Other questions?
And one comment, this plan may change, but it's only going to get smaller in scope. There was the pool will remain, but there was some zoning issues. So in Madison, anything over 3,000 square feet, if the setbacks increase. So this is about 3,600, Maria. I don't remember exact,
30.
whatever it was. So the setbacks are going to increase. So this is the largest you'll see. It'll only get smaller if the homeowner decides to not want to go to zoning, ZBA.
Okay.
It's the existing is 2622. The proposed with the additions equals 3866, which anything over 3,000 square feet means the setbacks would have to increase 1 foot for every 100 feet over 3,000. So that everything would have to be squished in 9 feet. And it doesn't comply, so they may be either reducing or seeking a variance.
Right, but this would be the largest footprint you'd see.
Right.
Okay. Are you guys ready to, feel comfortable making a motion? There, you can see, you can at it for a second. This is our current motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve application 2523 20 Park Avenue.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's our discussion, so we can make sure that we proving with the following conditions as noted here in 1 and 2. I don't know, Maria, do we need to put for 3 that it can be, if it comes back smaller, it can be agent approval? Is that
You can do that. Yeah, if it gets modified, not any bigger, yeah, you can, I would put that in. Because normally if you approve it, I would not override a modification of a agency approval, so, yeah.
right? So I'll propose that we put in a third condition that if this goes, if it
The
gets
scale of the plan,
smaller,
scale of
oh,
the
go
plan
ahead.
reduces.
Yeah, if the scale of plan is reduced, and there are, there's nothing else is changing except it's getting smaller, and we're not getting closer to the wetland, right? So if those kind of changes, then it could be agent approval. You can turn that into pretty English.
Modification to the plan.
And I can stop sharing since you probably put that into pretty English. So does that, you're typing.
Yeah,
So while she's typing, any other
Nope,
comments?
not from me.
No,
No. So are we,
modification.
okay, so all in favor of approving this application with the modified conditions? Raise your hand, say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Uh, okay,
Okay,
so that takes us, thank you. That takes us,
you
try
carry
to
it out.
move us along.
This is what I said in case you were, if the scale of the plan is reduced and the project does not encroach upon the wetlands any more than the current plan, the agency gives the agent the authority to issue a modification.
Perfect. That's great, because that helps everyone, I think. Okay, so our next is we have 2 as of right non-regulated use. So the first is 25-24, 605 County Road. This is from the Hammonasset Fishing Association, and essentially they would like to remove silt and modify the water course to a condition that they believe it should be prior to the bridge work that was done, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 years ago. Do we have anybody who's coming to speak for
Yeah,
that?
I just
Or
can't, I just want to move this into here. And, let's see if he is on here. Mr. Mashad is here. Oh,
nope, wrong.
wrong person. Wait a minute. Hold on, Jess. Hold up.
Getting there slowly but
As soon as I
surely.
clicked it, they shifted. Try it again. Here we go.
Hello,
Great. Hi.
Hello.
good evening,
So
everyone.
Hi,
great.
So if you could just introduce yourself and tell everybody why you are here.
My name is Richard Michaud. I'm a Madison resident. I'm a member of the Hammonasset Fishing Association, here to help with the permit for essentially doing maintenance on the stream, following the bridge replacement, and then just general erosion over time. The stream is actively fished by many members throughout the year, but most actively at this time of the year. Water levels within the stream vary widely between early in the season and then the summer months. During the summer months, July, August, sometime September, depending, is when you really notice the siltation. There are areas of the stream where during the summer months you can actually see the bottom, because of the siltation has formed in certain areas and vegetation grows in those areas. But the siltation, and water flows change from year to year. But the idea is simply to do some basic maintenance on our own during the summer months to certain areas that really just need it. But not, no wholesale work all over the stream, just as necessary in these areas where we do a lot of fishing. The river is stocked with trout every spring, and then fished for several months, and then fished into the fall as well. And it's noticed by many members where siltation has built up in areas that it wasn't before. So the idea is to do some maintenance. The idea is to remove some of the siltation from these areas where buildup has occurred, and then to move the sediment to other areas of the club where we have an open field or something like that where it can simply be spread around. The intent is to do the work on our own through members or the staff of the club. The club does all of its, I shouldn't say all, but a majority of its property management and landscaping now. The club has two staff members who do most of the work, and we envision they'll do a lot of the work here as well over time as necessary during those few summer months when the water is low, to improve conditions and water temperatures for the river and for the trouts.
Um,
That is the
okay.
intent. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Um, so, okay. Does anybody,
I have a couple
oh,
questions.
Sure.
How do you remove the erosion, and to what extent? Uh, how far upstream of the bridge and downstream of the bridge are you?
It'll all be downstream of the bridge. There'll be nothing upstream of the bridge. And I suspect once the water levels are low, we'll have a better assessment of where the work is needed. But it could be, a quarter mile, could be a half a mile downstream from the bridge, depending upon how sediment has shifted primarily from storms, because during the summer months, there's very low flow in the stream. The flow is primary during the earlier part of the season. So once water levels are lower, then we'll know where we need to do the work. But when the water level's high, we really don't know. So that's why it's an issue of timing and then once water levels are low, it'll be obvious where the work will be needed.
And do you know where the erosion is coming from?
Well, there's a combination of bridge work, and then there's just a combination of maybe some banks that have become eroded over time and through weather changes, generally speaking.
I guess my question is does the maintenance include thinking about erosion control so you don't have to do it again?
Well, certainly there have been areas where in years gone by, simply my noticing where they put some riprap or stone, on certain banked areas that were problematic. certainly that could be, putting riprap or stone or other natural materials could be part of the work, but we really haven't thought that through, and the intent is not to go that far into this type of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I guess one thing to point out is that for wetlands, when you are, this is not an as of right. This is, this is, as you know, and as a lot of this is a natural process with rivers. That's how we get oxbows forming. Is you get bends in rivers, you get erosion over time, you get sediment moving, you get storms, you have shifts in velocity, and that is the natural course of rivers. If you look at rivers over long periods of times, they shift their banks and they move and flow, and that's just what happens. Um, so it, maybe some of that bridge activity contributed. They had pretty good ENS controls, but perhaps, but I think you're probably correct that changes in weather and a lot of these storms are definitely shifting um shifting all these aquatic areas and streams and rivers in particular with these high velocity flows that happen that's going to happen. That being said, I understand your club wants to modify this to increase you know fishing, but you're talking in very vague terms. We don't have a map, we don't have any sense of how much you want to take out or how you would take it out. And generally speaking, when people go in and modify wetlands, it counts as a significant activity. It triggers a whole nother level of review and public hearings and all of that.
Yeah,
Regulation.
I guess when I read the regulations under as of right, maintenance was allowed in water courses to preserve habitat or preserve, preserve conditions. Certainly I may be wrong, but that was my simple reading of the regulations as to what might be allowed to be done. Um, we've hired no professionals to do any type of mapping or photography or surveying. This was simply an effort planned by the club itself, to do maintenance within the stream in areas that we see, have been problems. It's not intended as a large scale effort. But we wanted to, put forth the application to do the right thing before we started, doing any type of work in the stream. And that was the intent.
And which stream is this?
This is the Hammonasset River.
So that's also you're proposing to modify a river that could potentially have downstream impacts. I mean, you could be taking out that silt, but we don't have any idea how you would be taking out silt. And silt provides habitat for other things in rivers. So it's really hard to get. I understand from the club's perspective that you know there's this desire to have certain kinds of trout habitat, which I can totally appreciate. I used to work on salmon in the Pacific Northwest. But from what you've described without seeing anything, it sounds like it could be pretty major. You're talking about taking out, silt and sediment from a river and putting it somewhere on your property that may or may not be within a regulated activity area. And really, I think I'm not sure. Well, I don't know, and that
So
would be up for lawyers, I guess, to look at the as of right conditions. But I don't think modifying a river is part of it.
So the county road bridge was done in 2020?
Right. Yeah, it was a while ago. Well, 5 years.
Yeah, so that my question that and we had gone out to the bridge to look to see we not knowing where to look. we didn't see anything. The bridge work was done, well done and over with. By time they came, Hammonasset Fishing came to us and asked about doing this. So I honestly couldn't say what was left from the bridge or what was just natural. Like,
Yeah, you can't see it. But when the water levels are high, it's certainly not obvious.
but without record of what was there prior and what is there now, I mean, in addition to what they're asking to do, to say, it was from the bridge construction, 5 years later, it is, I don't know how you could tell.
It's, well, the way we know is simply from many members actively fishing the river over many years. This complaint, that complaint, that type of thing. It's not from hiring professionals and lending it to formal study. It's more of a property owner and its members using the property over a period of years, and watching how things change, and then looking to make an improvement.
What is the length of the river that you think needs to be excavated?
It's really just a certain spots. We're not going to excavate lengths of river. There might be a spot where this used to be a good fishing area and now it's not because it's silted in. So there could be 5 to 10 spots, something like that, where they would take out some silt and then move it to one of our fields, that type of thing. We haven't done any formal mapping because these things do change a little bit from year to year. But I don't expect lengths of river. I expect, certain defined areas to be removed. Yes.
In your estimation, did those 10 spots lose 6 inches of depth or a foot of depth or more than a foot of depth?
Well, so as I mentioned, during the summer months, you can notice where the bottom is now exposed. Because it has risen and you can see vegetation. So maybe in those areas, it could be, a foot or two for a small area where you have this mound of silt. In other areas, there would be no work.
So in your preference is to have no exposed earth. You'd like to have 6 inches to a foot of depth throughout your fishing area?
Yeah, I mean, it's really if 10 guys have been fishing an area for 5 years and now they notice that it's been silted in, the complaints come through, and the idea is, well, we got to fix this one area. So that's the general nature of the work, and I can understand why you'd like more specifics, but it's also an issue of timing. The work would be intended to be done during summer months when the water is lowest and the flow is lowest. There's very little flow during some of the summer months. So the application is now in June. So the hope is to do, to coordinate the work, not too far from now. That's the general intent.
So are you envisioning getting in there with a couple guys and shovels and a wheel?
Yeah, yes, we are. Couple guys with some shovels, and then maybe those shovels, into the club certainly has some farm equipment, so maybe we'll shovel into our backhoe bucket or something like that, and then we'll put it in our dump truck and bring it over to our field, that type of thing. We have organized work parties regularly throughout the year, on an ad hoc basis for things that need to be done.
So I think before we go any further, I think we have to determine if this is as of right or not. I don't feel that this is as of right. Maria?
No.
I don't feel it's as of right, and I'm also not sure it's non-regulated either, so.
It's not conservation as written in the regulations. It is the right thing to do for the fishing club like they are now to come before us for a determination, but like Kia and Maria are saying, it's definitely a regulated activity for sure.
So this, a regulated activity needs a
This
regulated
is a dredging.
activity
Yeah.
application. And that, and regardless of if it's by hand or not, modifying the river bank and flow is maybe, I mean, is a significant, is a, you know, I won't say significant in the sense of our regulations that would have to be determined, but it is a big activity. It is a regulated activity. And for all regulated activities, you know, we need an understanding of where and how much, you know, what, you know, you've described this and it's great, but we have no idea where this is going to go. And I understand you probably don't know how much it's going to be taken out, but you know, proposing to take silt out of a river is non-trivial, especially because it's a natural process of rivers. This is what rivers do. They silt, they move, they shift, they change. And you know, it's it's often not ideal if you want to fish trout, particularly. And you can't shift your fishing, but I think, you know, at least haven't, you know, Lee and Steve can speak up, but I don't think this isn't as of right. This isn't non-regulated. You're proposing to come in and do some, you know, pretty serious activity within the river and change things. And so that would be a regulated activity
I see.
application.
Yeah, perhaps I misread the regulations. I'll reread them again, and perhaps I can, submit a letter together with that section of the regulations that led my thought process to think it would be an as of right activity.
Yeah, I think we know which, which one. 4.2, you listed 4.2A. But that's, again, it's up to you guys, but he listed 4.2A and 4.1A. 4.1A, which is for as of right,
Agricultural.
yeah,
Yeah.
grazing, farming, nurseries, gardening, harvesting crops, ponds for the et cetera, for the purposes of wetland and watercourse restoration, enhancement, or mosquito control, which that's not what you're saying. And then non-regulated, the following operations and uses shall be permitted as non-regulated uses in wetlands and watercourses, provided they do not disturb the natural and indigenous character of the wetlands and watercourse by removal or deposition of material, alteration or obstruction of water flow, or pollution of the water, wetland, and watercourses. A, conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, wildlife. Such operation may include, but is not limited to, minor work to control erosion or encourage proper fish, wildlife, and silviculture management practices. Which I think is a little more accurate, but I still don't, it's not up to me, but that's, I think, the one that kind of closer describes what he's trying to do.
So I would think if to save money, if someone in the fishing club used an aerial map and then artistically outlined the course of the river and then drew red circles on those 10 areas of excavation, and
Yeah.
then write a detailed statement of use for how much is going to come out of each of those 10 areas, and
Okay.
we'll see your handiwork, and we'll go from there as far as the
Okay.
site plan.
Oh, yes, I think
That's going to be real expensive surveying.
yeah, yes. And okay.
Yep.
I guess my other question would be is, and I was just trying to look it up. It's not clear. Is the Hammonasset River privately owned, or is it just the banks that are, like, it's navigable water, I think.
It's navigable water, but the club owns both sides of the river for about 6 miles of length.
Okay, but someone could walk, I mean, so it's navigable
I guess you could,
water,
I
so
guess you could walk down the middle,
or you could kayak or
like in
canoe.
that Yellowstone scene.
Oh, I haven't watched that. But just to be so you may own the banks, but it's not the entire river. And I would just point that out
Yeah,
as it is not you don't that's not
it
the
it
river
is
is not your
navigable
property.
waters. It is
Right.
navigable waters.
You
Yes.
own the
And,
banks, you don't own the water.
Correct.
right. And
Right.
that also can trigger different types of wetland oversight if you have an navigable water like that.
Right.
So I think I would keep that in mind as well, that you want to modify navigable water. And that is, probably not under as of right or non-regulated either,
Yeah,
despite
I just
owning the
don't know
banks.
where they would enter. Perhaps, I don't know where they would actually enter the river to get into the water. There was
But
a
it doesn't matter. It doesn't, I'm just saying legally, it's
yeah,
navigable water. And so that legally, that falls under that and it's not privately owned. So if you're
got it.
suggesting that you want to take sediment out of a navigable water, that's, depending on how much you want to take, that's like Army Corps level.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure you don't want to deal with the Army Corps.
No, the work we're talking about is not at that level at all.
No,
Yeah.
but
Given
you're
budget, the Army might
you're in a
like to
you're in
have
a
somebody
river.
come and do their dredging for them.
Yeah.
Well, if I hear you correctly, you'd like me to produce an aerial map with red notations and a statement of use and the description of the work to be done in those areas to be resubmitted. Does that sound right?
That's what
Methodology of how you plan on
yeah, there
the
needs to be a lot more detail. I mean, typically in our applications, we're looking for where's the work going to be done, how is it going to
Yep.
be done, how much
Yep.
is going to come out, what in this case you're within a water course. So what is,
What's
what kind
the
of impact is
impacts?
that going to have? Like and that can trigger significant activity because it may be helpful for trout, but perhaps there are other
down
things that
the
aren't going to
river.
be that will have negative impacts, right? So it's
Besides Army Corps, Kayla, is there anybody or Steven, anybody who he could reach out to? I mean,
no, yeah, don't reach out to the Army Corps.
no, I mean, just saying, like, besides,
That's
like, who?
just-
Well,
Is there like a coastal conservation commission that could volunteer some help?
so I know that the Hammonasset, I mean, there are groups within Connecticut. There's Riverkeeper. There's some groups that are interested in river conservation, and they, may have.
Experts.
They
I'm
actually
saying
they
experts that yeah.
but they may know, they may, because they are also concerned about protecting rivers and maintaining habitat, they may, have better ways of presenting this type of work or thinking about how it could be done in a way that doesn't trigger, a huge amount of oversight. Because currently what we've discussed sounds like a significant
It sounds like a
activity,
significant activity with third party
given
review
everything.
and all that.
Yep.
And that's
Yep, and that's given all of our precedents and given what we've done in other situations like this. So, I don't know. I don't, I know there's different groups that that try to do work like this. And I don't know if there's anyone at the state who'd be helpful. And frankly, I don't know, you may also run into people who would not be thrilled about messing with the Hammonasset River. So that's a two-sided coin there as far as reaching out to someone. So
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
Mr. Me showed, I guess the best place, I guess what would be helpful for us, because this is definitely, going to fall under regulated activities, to have a better understanding of the scope of this you know, not just hearing about it from you, but seeing where you plan to map what you know, what exactly you plan to do. Um, and you can review our regulations and see, you know, how this falls out. And I'm sure Maria would be happy to help as well.
Okay. Well, that sounds fine. I can put together some of this information and resubmit and then we can certainly go from there.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I need to recuse myself from this next one or abstain if you need a quorum. 25-26 is 836 Green Hill Road. It's
Owens?
it's the Madison Land Conservation Trust wants to
Bob
remove
Owens?
invasive species.
Well, do we have to make a decision on something that requires voting?
I don't know. Do we have
No.
to do voting for as of right?
Please hold, I dropped my glasses. I can't see anything.
I mean, well,
Well, this
you know, if
is,
we
I'm
gotta
playing off
vote,
the
I'm
other
in the
side of
same
the desk.
position you are. Cause I'm
This
on,
is-
I'm on the stewardship committee.
Yeah, but the two of us are gonna need to
Oh, we're gonna
Yeah,
need a
you're-
bigger quorum.
we're gonna need more people.
Well, let's
If you-
go with this. So who is?
Yeah, if we need a
Let me
vote.
just allow Robert to talk here. So, he could tell you what it is and then I could tell you my bit and then we can go from there. Okay, Bob. There's
Yes,
other guy
you-
I can see that wants to talk.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Are you ready for me?
We are.
no.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm Bob Owens. I'm a member of the Madison Land Conservation Trust, chair of the Stewardship Committee, and a member of the Executive Board. But I'm here tonight as the applicant in terms of the Stewardship Committee. And the property in question at 836 Green Hill Road is one of our more recent acquisitions. It's a 29-acre meadow bordered on one side by the Hammonasset River and on the other side, the Highgate community. And the activity that we are asking permission to conduct falls, I think, under the heading of property maintenance. This meadow, as it's been explained to me, has been in existence since before the Civil War, and it's what's known as a pocket meadow because when the sheep industry collapsed 100 years or more ago, unlike many meadows and pastures, the soil conditions in this piece of property are rather rare, and with annual mowing over the years, it's been maintained as a meadow. Apparently for several years before the land trust acquired the property a year ago, I think looking at the property, the maintenance must have been, or the mowing must have been neglected because the entire border along the Hammonasset River from Green Hill Road downstream, I'm not sure how many 100 yards, has begun to become overgrown with a variety of invasives, autumn olive, multiflora rose, euonymus, you name it, the normal sorts of things. And we're losing more and more of the meadow. And so what we would like to do is to start small, and members of the stewardship committee go in a defined area along the river which is indicated by the red ovals on the property survey, and very selectively using hand methods, remove the invasives and release the native species there. And this, if it's approved, we would propose to start work in the fall, work carefully, and this is going to be, again, if approved, a multi-year project, because you can see by the length of riverfront there and the number of red ovals or pink ovals that 1 year's work is going to be only a small down payment on what's going to need to be done. And I think really that's all that I would say in introduction. I think the project description lays it out pretty clearly, the scope of the work and the care which we intend to take to make sure that we do not disturb the riverbank itself.
Okay.
Any chance you can help the fishing club with a map? Just joking, just joking. That's a nice map there.
Well, I will take credit for shepherding this process along, but I had help from several people, and they suggested that a informative map was a good start. So we tried to get off on the right foot.
We appreciate that.
Is there a way you can put everything in writing, like a detailed statement of activity and how long it'll take and what would come out and what kind of tools you need to take it all out?
I thought that was in the one-page project description.
I think this was the one application I may have missed when I looked at everything today.
Well, I
So
hope
was there-
so. It's
Was-
a simple project.
That's great. Yep.
And
right
it's
here.
simple tools.
I did miss that one.
The aforementioned species are targeted for removal by pruning and carefully controlled application of herbicides, etc., etc.
And these are all on the bank, not in the water?
On the banks and not up to where the bank goes over the edge into the water.
Yep.
The invasives are anywhere, the extent is anywhere from, I'm going to say, 12 to 15 feet from the river
Yep.
to 30 or 40 feet. And we just want to start small and in an area where we can imagine what renaturalization is going to look like and see how the work goes. But we're going to be careful not to fall into the water.
Yep. So you got pruning and then the herbicides are designed to kill?
Yes, and
Okay.
where the first step in what we would do this year, I think, is only going to be pruning.
Yep.
And we'll see how that goes. We want to be, or I want to be, as non-invasive as I can in this.
Has your group done this before?
Yes, we're currently in the process of doing this in parts of Lowry Woods.
That's in
Wetlands
Madison?
Considerations there.
Okay. And Lowry Woods is in Madison?
Yes.
And did that
Cox and
activity,
Walker's Road.
okay, did that activity come before the commission?
It did?
Yes, it
Okay.
did.
Okay.
It came a couple years ago
A couple
when
of
I
years, okay.
Yep.
recused myself again.
Is that
That's
the
a lot
one
of
where
the
they did a
work.
parking area?
Yeah, I don't,
Okay.
that was before me.
I remember.
A lot of the invasive work at Lowry Woods is not in any regulated area too.
Okay.
Yes, I want to stress that fact. The invasive work is not in a regulated area at Lowry Woods, where here, I mean, we are within feet of the river.
Yep.
You weren't planning on doing any herbiciding right away?
I'm not,
Um,
Somebody?
no,
oh,
Oh, that's right. The first phase is just pruning
yes,
and leaving the branches for habitat enjoyment.
exactly.
Okay. When would the herbicides be? Later in the summer, fall?
Not, 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 in other situations, they're used
The winter?
in early fall. In
Okay.
this case, this application is just for this year.
Yep.
We've got a non-pristine property where, in a long stretch that needs attention, and we're going to start small, start non-chemical, and see how it goes.
Okay. It's like a test site.
Yes,
Yep. And I may have missed it. Is it like 100 feet by 20 feet?
I'm going to say it's more like 100 yards in length,
Okay.
and the width is going to vary.
Yep.
It's going to be anywhere from, let's say, 15 to 20 feet to 30, 40 feet or more.
Okay.
The invasion is the front is not uniform.
Yep. I understand. And as of right now, it's me and Lee. We have
What?
me and Lee, we have the votes to say yes or no.
Is that legal?
So technically, I could say yes. And when we received this application, it had everything it needed, it had the site plan, it had a letter from, a professional describing the work, and I was going to do it as an agent because I can. However, there was a revision that needed to be made, and, when the applicant had made the revision, they had CC'd our lovely chair, and then I didn't want to seem like I was doing something that, without letting anybody know, after the fact. So, I just wanted to be upfront about it and, have it presented and so that I was going to do this as an agent. And then thought, well, now that she, had seen it already, you might as well all see it. But I still, I can, do it as an agent.
I'd be okay with it being administrative for this test run, and if things work out to their satisfaction, maybe a larger scale plan comes to the commission for
Sure.
for an actual application. But for a test run, I'm okay with it being a section 13.
I agree with that.
Especially since they're starting off light, just pruning and watching things go. And
Right, and that's why I didn't
Mar-
see any reason, not to be able to do it as an agent. I was like, well, now that, we might as well see what the plan is for the future and get everybody's thoughts on it. So
yeah. And then you can just let us know the month that they're gonna spray the herbicide, which I'm sure is gonna be healthy one, not a
Mhm.
horrible
Sure.
one. Triple X. Okay, so can me and Lee green light section
I
13?
could, yeah, I can green light it. We can all green light it together.
Yay.
Okay, and if Anna wants to veto this next month and someone else, they can let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Owens.
great. Okay, yay. All right, so moving right along.
Okay,
Quickly.
let's just say,
We've got our receipt.
farewell and
Yeah, I think
farewell.
this next one needs a site plan, if I'm not mistaken.
Where are you at?
Oh,
Which next one?
the 25, so receipt, we've got 25-27, 10 Allison Road,
Yeah, there's
in
just an
ground pool
application.
patio.
No,
Uh,
there's an application, a survey, there's an abutters list.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't see
there's,
the
it's,
survey.
Yeah, so what
yeah,
happened was, this is another one, and I'm gonna pop it up here. I had gone out to this site last fall at the request of the pool company and the surveyor at the time. And if we all know, Alice, this neighborhood, that it's very flat. It's an open space conservation district. There was not, there was, there's wetlands on this property. Y'all are seeing this plan that I have up, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
It was relatively flat. They were going to install an in-ground pool. It was something that I was more than likely going to do as an agent approval. And then, when I told them that they would have to go to, get the wetlands reflagged, and update the survey, for some reason, then the pool company and the surveyor were not involved anymore. So then several different people had called me and I told them all the same information. They finally settled on this one contractor who went and got the wetlands reflagged and updated the survey. The problem is we did not attach the survey originally because the pool didn't comply. The pool was over the setback. So when upon receipt of it, when I saw it, I said, "But this doesn't comply." So they had to shift the pool. The pool is now sitting right on the setback line. So that's where we're at. They're putting in a patio. There's an existing deck with a smaller patio. The existing deck's here. The patio is like just a little bit underneath. It comes out a little bit, from past the deck. They're proposing to increase the patio pool and then patio around it, put a fence. And it's not, you wouldn't even know they're the wetlands. This has all been maintained, unfortunately, as mowed lawn for years, as was this area was encroached in. It was done by the previous owner. This is a newer owner. So that's why there wasn't a site plan, but we did receive the updated one and we put it in there. Everything, all the work is within the 100-foot review area. I did scale it. I failed to note it. It's probably 40-ish feet away from the wetland flags, I think.
But the wetland flags are in lawn? Is that what you're saying, Maria?
The wetlands, yes, it is now all, which is why we had it reflagged. At the time, the engineer land surveyor that I was out with said I would reflag the wetlands because this has all been maintained and we don't, it wasn't sure what was still there or not there.
Yeah.
And then it fell off the face of the earth until 2 months ago. Just a lot of phone
Okay.
calls and not a lot of, action as to what they were doing.
So if we went out to look at it, that would just be lawn that we would see. Is that what you're saying?
But the
Where-
wetlands would be flagged?
The wetlands are flagged. They did get them reflagged.
So we
Can you-
could see flags.
You will see flags. This is where the wetlands are, somewhere over in this area.
Hmm.
This is all land trust land, I believe. Yes.
I would, yeah. I would think if that pool to the south came to the commission, then this one should come to the commission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
no,
I
it's
got it, once I got the whole scope, this was,
Yeah.
I'm talking months and months, this was in the fall.
Yeah,
Once
yeah.
we got the revised survey with the revised wetlands, it's a lot of patio work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of patio work. The pool, like, that's, not your wheelhouse, but it's
Yeah.
very close. It's right on the setback line, but there's a lot of patio work, fencing. And it's
Yeah.
pretty
no,
close.
it's pretty extensive.
And,
Yeah.
Okay.
and an in-ground pool is a lot more work than it would seem. I mean, you're going to have dump trucks going in the back there, taking the backhoe excavation. So it's pretty extensive.
Mhm.
I'd bring it to us.
Yeah. So it is, so that's receipt.
Yes.
So we'll see this next month.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
if you drive
Go
by
ahead.
it, you could see it. I mean, it's
Okay.
not behind any fences. It's clearly, you could certainly drive in there and see from up
On the road.
driveway
Okay.
or the,
So I
No
think this
site-
would be, yeah, it sounds like we don't need a site walk then, that we can.
I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure, like Joe said, he didn't see the site plan, so I didn't know where, at what point. He
I
just
must have
brought in the
missed it.
paper copies this morning. So, of the revised site plan showing compliance, zoning compliance.
Okay.
Was it on the website at about 11 this morning, the survey?
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. I
Oh,
didn't see
actually,
it.
you know what? She uploaded it here at 12:19 PM. So no.
Okay. I did my evaluation before
Yeah.
that.
This morning, yeah.
Okay.
That's what you
So
get.
we waited on uploading it because we knew it wasn't gonna be correct and it was only for receipt anyway, so we knew we had time to get it up there.
Okay.
So we'll see this next month.
Right. And if people, have a chance to drive by and just take a peek, that'll be helpful. That was pretty good pictures, but it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next is the section 13. Yay! 25-25, 26 Beach Avenue. It's like you let them do things that probably
let them
didn't
do
impact the
things.
wetland. You let them do things.
I let them do things. We had a meeting. I had a meeting with the architect and Mike Harkin, who was the engineer company on this, and went over a few things, went out to the site, did a walk. And I meant to get the history because it was and I don't know if anybody knows this. It's very interesting. The work is really far. It's mostly, I think, the edge of the extra leaching they have to put in. It's really far it's like 75, 85 feet away from the wetlands, and it's again very flat. However, apparently, and I know I'm going to screw this up, the wetlands in the back were like, it was an old farm and they used to do something, I'm going to say mussels, oysters. It was like created so they can farm some kind of shellfish out of there. Which I thought was interesting when I went out onto the site property and got a little history of it. Anywho, moving on.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was. We have yes, and we have a lot of Connecticut deep things.
Yes, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They
They
don't
kept
even ask
rolling-
us. We're
they
just
kept
gonna
rolling
throw
in.
that in there.
They kept rolling in.
Well, this is our chance to say something. They're letting us know. And then this is our opportunity to say, we're really concerned about that one. Otherwise, they're just gonna spray?
Sounds like some of these already happened. One's
Yeah.
happening tomorrow, one happened in May.
Yeah.
They're not
Okay.
asking us, they're just deciding to
Oh,
let us know
Yeah,
we are doing this.
we are. They are.
We are
okay.
not thrilled, but that's the way it goes.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on from
Let's
poisoning
get
of
our,
ponds and go
let's get our friend
to,
Jess, who's probably sleeping by
yes,
now.
I know, it's very sad. 129 Green Hill Road. Hi.
Jessica,
Good evening.
Hi.
yay, you're still here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get Matt
Okay.
into here. So our friend Jess, we went out to her property last year. She did some work on a pond, as you recall, cutting of the trees. We did a site walk. She hired someone to flag the wetlands. She hired someone to do a functions and value of the pond. She hired we had some orders that she needed to restore, clean. She hired companies to come out and clean the mess that was left behind from the person who cut trees. And she had All Habitat out giving her a planting plan, which some of it had to be done, the restoration work had to be done in the spring, no, the fall. And now she is back because the second half was to be done in the spring. She had All Habitat out to do a reevaluation, and that's where we're at. Am I right, Jess?
More or less. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a pretty good rundown with wetlands delineation, sketch map, impact assessment. We've done functions and values evaluation, a mitigation strategy, another restoration because the first one wasn't up to the standard. We did a tree inventory. We did an impact summary, aquatic survey. Yes.
So we are at the point now where there was some of the plantings were, well, whatever you had to do in the fall was in.
Mhm.
They came out, and I don't know if everybody had seen the letter about species that were, things that were took, what wasn't taking, what there's also a lot of regrowth. There was pictures, and from what I'm gathering, All Habitat thinks that there's mostly what needs to be done now is protective measures from deer. But the spring planting would not be necessary because of the regrowth and the deer crowding. So thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
Well, that sounds pretty extensive, and it's if all habitat is, in this phase doesn't need to go because of what's coming back. That sounds good.
There's some of we could see the regrowth
Mm-hmm.
coming along. And is this new? This is new, right, Jess? That's new.
That's a new one. Yep.
Yeah. And so I think the main concern now was I guess the deer management, deer protection and management of invasives around the pond.
Right.
So we can make a decision to revisit again at the end of summer or fall, or release. This is Joseph.
Okay. Well, I assume that Ms. Joseph is probably going to want to protect what they've invested in from the deer, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is all habitat recommending? What are they
So
recommending for that?
That is,
yeah. The wooden stakes, and I mean they did reference some kind of like chemical deer, because the deer aggressively kind of browse. But another option was the stakes with netting around it, that would be
Oh,
able
right.
to, for just for a few years, so that way the trees in like the high, the winterberry holly, the pepper bush, the high bush blueberries, all those can kind of, really mature more, and then, be able to tolerate the deer that like to come in
Right.
close. Yes, and then, right. Mhm.
Okay. So I'm fine. Well, what do the commission members think? Do we want to keep following this? Or thoughts?
I don't think we need to have it on our agenda. We may want to have Maria continue out there every 6 months, occasionally, whatever you think appropriate, Maria, but.
Yeah, we can do that. Jess and I could definitely keep communicating. When you get some of the deer protection around, you can contact me, and then could see how, things go in the fall, how things have taken. And we could just keep in touch, like, per season.
Great. I honestly, apologies. I meant to send you some pictures because we had restarted because they really like those.
Oh, so you've already installed some of it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were going to town. I was like, hey guys, hey, like those are the blueberries and the winterberry and yes, the pepper bush. So we were trying to kind of salvage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yep. And then just we just continue to hand. I don't want to use any chemicals, so we've just been hand literally digging up the invasive barberry and garlic mustard's been, luckily with all the rain, easy enough to pull.
Okay. Well, so I think that sounds good. I'm sure you'll want to continue to see the natives, stable that will grow and stabilize that disturbed area, which I'm sure is happening. So that makes sense, Maria. If kind of check
Sure.
seasonally and see how it's going and make sure it's progressing forward. That'd be great. So
Perfect.
yes, and then you can be off our agenda, which is I'm sure you would like. It'll be happy. You won't have to stay up on a late night like tonight.
I know. We told her not to join late because we're like, join later.
Yeah,
Is it
join late.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah, so I told my family.
Yeah, I thank you
Wow.
so
So
much.
this started in October of 23.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna miss
Yes.
you, but you'll still talk
Yeah.
to me. So
Yeah.
I
Thank you
will.
very
Thank
much
you.
for persevering and being willing to engage in this restoration and kind of shepherd this through. So thank you.
Appreciate it, everyone. Have a good night. Thank
all
you.
right. Thanks,
You
Jess.
too. Okay, so our last is the minutes. So I did look through them. I did it really quickly. I didn't see where's my recent files?
I did
Yeah,
I didn't see anything obvious, but
I didn't see anything.
I didn't go
Yeah.
word by word either.
The only question I had was the veterinarian. I thought part of the addition was for office space, but that's not critical to the scope of the minutes. But
Oh, so speaking of him,
didn't say anything about office space.
speaking of him, his
Yeah.
design, there was an error on the site plan using the wrong zone setbacks. And when I had to review it for zoning compliance, so they have to
For
redesign it.
ZBA.
No, they didn't. There was an option, I said you could go to ZBA or, you know, you can redesign it, and I think they're redesigning it. So the addition, I believe, I don't think he's going up, but I think it's going behind. Like nothing out to the side now.
And that was a zoning issue.
It was a zoning issue. The zone for the rural shopping district that he was in is 60 feet
Oh,
setbacks in from each side yard. And they were
okay.
using the RU2 or 1 or whatever of 30 feet. Which is why the building literally goes from like setback to setback. That's why it's like a long skinny box. So they may be able to go back behind it, but they can't go to either side. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens when they redesign it, where I know there's wetlands in the rear yard, but like they were way, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't think they were on his property in the rear. And I just don't know where it's gonna end up on either side in relation to the wetlands, so I'll have to see when they redesign it
Okay.
after all that.
So after all that, well, okay.
Yeah, so.
Things happen.
That was
Yeah.
an oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
glad
was
that
weird because it's scaled properly, but it was just quoting the
the
wrong
the
zone.
wrong. Yeah. Okay.
'Cause it's one of those
Well,
properties that was a singled out like special exception zone, special exception property. It has its own deal, so.
Yeah.
a
Other than
bummer.
that, I thought the minutes looked pretty good.
Other than that,
Yeah.
I thought I spoke
Well,
more.
all.
My name wasn't in there. But that's okay.
Um.
So
All
I'd
right.
like to
Well,
make a
I
motion.
move
okay.
we, I move we
Go ahead.
approve May 5th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Kind of
No.
discussed. All right. All in favor? Raise your hand. Say aye. Any
I
abstaining? Opposing? Great. Okay. In the wetland chair remarks. Hopefully next month will be shorter. I know we'll have the 2 horse ponds and Allison, but hopefully that'll be it. So that's all. Those are my wishes. My hopes. Anything that you want to add, Maria?
no, so yes, we'll have 2 horse ponds and Allison, and then we'll have the gentleman coming back with more clearly what he wants to do for Hammonasset.
Oh,
If you can go by, Allison, feel free, drive by. And Martin wasn't able to attend last minute, and Anna won't probably be here for a little bit.
we'll
So
need to.
yeah, we become when Joe said he was going to be late, I was like, oh, we're going to be dangerously close to not being able to open the meeting. So we appreciate all your time and efforts, volunteering. If you could just, and I understand things come up, but the sooner you can let us know, the better. People, their experts get paid a lot to come on these meetings, and then to cancel them, kind of stinks on them. So
Yeah. What day? So what's the day of our next meeting? Is it a weird Monday? I don't have my
I'm
calendar.
not looking at July yet. I'll let you know. July 7th. I could have just made that up. It's July 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right after the 4th of July.
Right.
So,
Okay.
if anybody knows they're going to be away or anything,
I'll be here.
I was going to try to be, but then I realized it was a meeting night, so I'm not going away. That would be great. Because I know we will not already, we won't have Anna. Right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
All
it.
right. Well, Betty, want to make our last motion of the evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Aye.
Unanimous. We'll see you guys July 7th. Have a great month.
Sounds good.
You.